Good afternoon and welcome to Find Your Sparkle with Jen, where you'll be inspired, informed, and influenced. I'm your host, Jennifer Stewart, owner of Jazz Potential and creator of Find Your Sparkle. And today I have to say that I am super duper excited to have with me my friend, one of my girlfriend's daughters who now we're actually friends, Samantha Gracie, who is a singer, songwriter, actress, and just an all around amazing young woman. And I actually want to read a little bit of her bio because it's pretty impressive. Now, Samantha is the daughter of singer-songwriter John Gracie and Andre Gracie, who is one of my favorite people on the planet. And Andre and I have known each other since 2004, I think. So I've known you since you were, oh my golly, in junior high. And I've had the pleasure, the honor, and the privilege to watch you grow, expand. And I feel like I love being part of your journey because you've had so many awesome things happening over the years. And I was going to read your bio, but I don't think I really need to, but there's so many different things that are exciting for you. I mean, you started in the music industry when you were a child, you got that acting bite. You've had some really amazing opportunities that we're going to be able to talk about today. And you most recently, you just released a really awesome song called Lilacs that has been getting a lot of attention, not only in Canada, but all over the globe. So first of all, I want to say welcome, Samantha. It's so great to have you here. And I wanted to start off talking about that song because it has a super special meaning to you and now to lots of other people. So I'm going to stop talking now and welcome you.
No, if you know me and my family, Jennifer, you know that I was trying to hold back tears while we were even talking about that. Just such an emotional person. And then I start thinking about the song and I get emotional. So I was like, hold it together, Samantha. But yeah, I just released a song called Lilacs. And I mean, you knew her very well. The song is written about my maternal grandmother. I'm already getting emotional.
I know, me too.
I know.
We're here together.
I know, we're here. We unfortunately lost her in 2019, and it was a really pivotal experience for me and my family. And very fresh after that, we experienced COVID and the lockdowns. And I think that's a really unique time and place to be experiencing grief. You don't have the same kind of availability to your family and your friends to go through these things together. And then I was offered the opportunity. I'm in Ontario right now, and I wanted to go back to Nova Scotia. Obviously, we have to isolate due to the pandemic. And my grandmother's farmhouse was offered to me as a place for me to isolate before seeing my family. And Jennifer, at first, my mom gave me the opportunity to do it. And I said, Mom, I do not have the capacity to do that. I cry at the drop of a hat when her name comes up. I can't stay there 2 weeks. It's going to be torture for me. I'm going to be so sad. And then I was, going through a weird time, and I took a couple of minutes to think about it myself. And I was like, why did I really have that reaction? There's obviously something there that I have to face, and maybe it'll be this really beautiful opportunity for me to be on her property again and to take it all in one last time. So we did it, and it was truly the most magical, incredible, meaningful experience that I've ever had. It was like walking into a dream, memories flooded back. I got to live, her life for 2 weeks and really kind of take all of that in and revisit just my life as a kid in that house. And that's where I wrote the song too. I noticed that the lilac tree wasn't blooming. That was very metaphorical for me. After losing her, and that was her favorite tree on the property. And I was just kind of like playing the guitar one day, and the line came out, the lilacs aren't growing without you around. And I just broke down crying. It's like, where did that come from? Oh, that's like exactly how I feel. I feel, less nurtured without her. I feel lonely without her. I feel stunted in my growth without her. And that's really kind of how the song began. And that's why it's called Lilacs, because that was really the point of inspiration, was just that idea. And when it hit me, I really kind of was looking in a mirror at my own grief. And I finally had this understanding of what I was facing through losing her.
Now, how long did it take you to write that song once you got that? And when you did that reflection, how long did this work of art take?
Well, this is another reason this song is really special to me. It's actually a huge reason why I was so nervous to put it out. I wrote it in like 20 minutes, and I've never had that experience at all. I'm a perfectionist to the point where it's a flaw. I
Yeah.
come back to things and I'm like, oh, it's not good enough. I want to go a different direction with it. And I'll go back and forth. I'll go back and forth. I'll go back and forth. This song, the second I said that line, I was like, oh my gosh. And I also feel this. And I also feel this. And I also feel this. And the next thing I knew, I was playing it. And my partner, Liam, who I've been with for 12 years, he knew my grandmother really well. He kind of got teary eyed and he was like, this is what you needed to do. And I was like, the song is done. And it was just like such I had never experienced that before in music and writing for myself. So that in itself makes the song really special for me.
Oh my gosh, that like obviously I'm teary-eyed too, but that it's like so amazing. And a lot of times people will say, especially people that are creative, a lot of times when things come to them like that, it's kind of people will say, I got that, I just got moved. And it was meant to be. It was like there was no effort on your part. And some people call it flow. It's just, you were just in that zone. So can you imagine, do you think that might help you to get in the zone for future songs and writing?
Yeah, I think that what I'm realizing a lot about myself in this art form and in acting as well, I think in our culture and the way that society is moving forward, we have a lot of the hustle mentality and produce just to produce mentality, and while that's great for a lot of people, for me it handicapped me. Like I couldn't perform on cue like that. So this was such a good, reflection of my process, which is just, when I'm inspired, that's when I can write. When I'm in feeling, that's when I can write. And the only way to make sure that that continues is to make sure that I'm giving time every day to be playing and to be thinking and to give, that inspiration, the opportunity to come out.
So that's interesting. So what kind of a practice do you have, or are you planning to kind of initiate to help foster that even more? Because I mean, you are so talented. I mean, both acting and singing wise, you're incredibly talented. So, I mean, I just love, well, I love seeing you grow and evolve. And I love seeing that you recognize that, there are things that you've become aware of that you can do to help with the process.
Yeah, I think I got really into reading when I hit kind of a writer's block and a creativity block, actually at the beginning of the pandemic. I started reading a lot of literature. The War on Art, or War of Art, I believe, and Effortless Mastery are two really good books. And they both kind of led me to the same realization, which is that, to be doing something that you love and that you want to grow doing, the secret really is just consistency. So I try to just take all the pressure off. I try to make sure I play the guitar for, if it's 10 minutes one day and that's all that I have, that's the capacity that I have for that day, I let that be. And then the next day I might write for 3 hours and get a song out of it. And then I haven't punished myself for not being creative on a day that I might just be, a little bit exhausted and a little bit uninspired. And I don't think that means very much. I think every single one of us as human beings are allowed to have those moments, and being hard on ourselves when those moments happen can really limit us when that creativity does happen, because we're not as willing to give it the opportunity to grow if we're mad at ourselves for not creating the day before. So it's been a real process for me to understand that, and to kind of shush those mean voices in my head when things don't, just sprout out of nowhere. But it's something that I've learned and I'm still learning, and I'm seeing the benefits of it. I'm seeing that I'm not keeping myself so small as to have to produce something that maybe I don't even want to produce. And that's what allows all the really awesome stuff and the stuff that means something to me to kind of have the space to become.
Oh my golly, that's absolutely, I love that. And it's one of those things, the older I get, the more I realize that all the stuff I thought that I learned, I really have no idea about. And I'm constantly blown away with, just how much we can grow. And when you're ready, all of a sudden you realize there's a whole other layer there that needs to be released and unveiled. And it's incredible. So one of the things that struck me when you were talking was the fact of just recognizing that, not beating yourself up and working on those voices. That's a huge thing. And most of us never succeed in becoming our own best friend and quieting those voices. Now I'd like to share some techniques, but I want to hear, what do you do to help with that? Because I think any tips that people can take, and maybe something will resonate.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear your tips on it. It's kind of exactly what you just said. I was doing acting classes, and that was a real obstacle that I had to work through. And my mentor, Meredith McGeechee, who's an incredible actor with AMAW, she really kind of, worked that into me. She said, you're the only person criticizing the work that you're doing here. Does that feel fair to you? And like, once you ask yourself these questions, you're like, oh my gosh, that is devastating. Like, what am I doing to myself? So I really radically went into acting being like, this is for fun, Samantha. You cannot mess this up. You are in a class setting. You are here to explore. The whole reason you like being an artist is exploration and the curiosity of it. So why are you being so tough on yourself? But like we were saying before, then I started taking vocal lessons, and it came up again. She was like, why are you so concerned about this song coming out a certain way? This is your experience. You should want to experience it. That's what being a vocalist is all about. So again, she was very radical with me and said, every time you feel that, I want you to say it loud to yourself, like, you're okay. You can sing. You are attempting a new thing, and you are given permission to have space, to take the time, and to take the mentality that it takes to get you there. So really, I say this to my friends, I'm like a crazy person talking to myself. I'll be like, no, you are safe. You are doing a really good job. And the number one thing that I say to myself that always really kind of brings me back to where I am is, you're doing enough by trying to do it. You're doing enough by practicing. There's 1,000,001 other people out there who aren't giving their time to something that they love. You get to say that you're doing that. So take pride in that. And immediately I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm putting in the time. I'm doing vocal lessons. I'm practicing the guitar. I deserve a pat on the back. I deserve a cookie. I deserve a sticker. And, it sounds really silly, but it is like talking to the 5-year-old self inside of you. And emotions and language are so interesting. I know you know this. I feel a shift in my body the second I do it.
Absolutely.
Like, I've told my body I'm safe. I've told my soul that it's worthy of being heard, that it's valid, that what I'm feeling is valid, and my body believes me immediately. So that's kind of been my approach to getting past all of those voices in your head that make you feel like you're not enough, or that you're too much, or that you're small. Talk back.
Have those conversations, which is a fabulous piece of advice. On that note, we're going to have a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to CIOE 97.5 FM. Welcome back to Find Your Sparkle with Jen, and welcome back, Samantha. And just before break, we were talking about how you were dealing with that little voice in your head and some of the techniques and tools that you use. And I promised that I would also share a couple tips. So that was one of the
so excited.
On the break, that was one of the things I said, oh my gosh, I have to remember to share things. And some of my audience members have heard this before. But one of the really effective things that I have found with myself and my clients is if you have a rubber band around your wrist. And every time you hear that negativity starting in there, you give yourself a flick. And then you start to think, holy smokes, wow, I'm actually not very nice to myself. And you start paying attention to what that conversation is happening. So the other thing is to imagine, and it's very similar to what your coach said, what if you were to say those things to your best friend? right? How horrified would you be? You would be all over that person.
Oh, I feel icky even when you say it. It's like, it's so true.
Right? So you would never in a million years say that to your best friend, or if someone else said it to your best friend, you would be pretty ticked off. So bear that in mind and really work on becoming your own best friend. And that is through those conversations that you're having with yourself. That's exactly how you start to do it. Having those conversations, saying, you know what, oh my gosh, I didn't do that today. Yay, I deserve a pat on the back. And cherishing those times and acknowledging it. And it might sound silly, but have fun with it and just being more mindful. So all of those things, your coach had some really great tips. I love, love, love them.
Yeah, and like you said, I think it's just important to remember that it's work, and it's a lifelong commitment to be your own friend.
Right? It totally is. And it's a daily thing. Sometimes it's a minute by minute thing, but to give yourself grace and to not criticize, to not beat yourself up, to realize and know that, you know what? Yeah, you are worthy and you are deserving just like everyone else. The other thing that I find that's really helpful, which this is kind of a new thing that I've been doing probably in the last year or so, is really acknowledging the fact that everything is energy. Mm-hmm. So those thoughts are energy. What we say is energy. I'm energy. This shirt is everything is energy. And if we can kind of step back and look at things as an observer, as it's just energy, it really doesn't take on anything then. It's just, that's it. Right. So even with our thoughts, like if you have an emotion that you don't want to feel, nobody likes to feel crappy emotions, but we've been taught that, you know what, that's not normal, or squash it down. And then we end up with all this emotional baggage, which in turn is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we end up having all these negative conversations with ourselves. So awareness, but that's all I'm going to say on that, because this is all about you. So I'm excited that you've got some really.
I'm going to be taking those tips.
Well, great tools. Like, I'm always constantly looking for things to add to my toolbox, because you never know. I mean, you may need 10 different tools in one day than you do in another day. So the more that you can have and the access and, the more familiar and having that, getting to know yourself is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. All those things like you talked about when, take you back to when you were a child, or if there's something that someone said that, maybe was negative, that can impact you for your whole entire life, that one thing. Mm-hmm. So, when we can learn to get comfortable with our feelings and deal with them and feel them for a minute, yeah, they might not feel so great, but instead of squashing them, which they end up showing up years down the road, yes, for your whole life, yeah, if we deal with them, then they're gone.
They move on. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so much of life is like that. But I wanted to get back into, you had kind of talked a little bit about with acting, how you were using that with your acting career too. Now, your acting career has really taken off. I can remember, I think was it one of your first ones, the VHS, the horror movie, the horror film that you did? That was what was that?
That was like my catalyst. It was called, it's VHS 2.
VHS 2.
And I got, and it's like a weird story. I had gotten into acting. I was in Halifax. I had representation, but I don't think I had qualified it as like a valid career choice for me. Music was always there. I saw my dad do it. I knew it was something I could work towards. I had seen it done. The acting thing, I was like, how do we do this? Like, this is crazy. I don't even know how to get my foot in the door. And I ended up getting an audition for this short film, VHS 2. It gave very little description of what it was going to be about. I actually almost skipped the audition because my anxiety was so high around it. I was like,
oh, wow.
I'm good enough. This is a lead role in a horror short. I'm just not really ready for this. And, my mom, the biggest cheerleader and my best friend, and my manager was like, you can't not do stuff.
That's right.
Show up, mess up. It doesn't matter what happens when you get in there, but you have to show up. So I showed up and I got the role. And that was such a crazy experience. The director was Jason Eisner, who is, Halifax royalty, global royalty. He was such a success and such an incredible director. And he made this really awesome short film that ended up getting put into the VHS2 anthology, which ended up going to Sundance. And I was invited to go along with them for that. And that's when I had that moment. I was like, oh my gosh, you can do this. And it's kind of like, back to what my mom said, as long as you show up, you can do it. It can happen. Opportunities present themselves. You have to say yes before I can go any further. So that was such a fun one. And that was when I kind of really decided, okay, maybe I'll move to Toronto and see kind of what happens. And then it kind of snowballed, and it's been a really wild ride since then.
Oh my gosh. And like I said, when we first began, I love, watching you. I have to name some of your acting appearances and TV appearances. So we have, landed a lead role in BET's Single Ladies film in LA and Toronto, and got to do a scene with Queen Latifah. So that was pretty cool. Like, really cool.
So cool.
Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about that in a second. And you've had like tons of stuff on like The Good Witch, Frankie Drake Mysteries, Private Eyes, Mr. D, and more. And on Netflix, you did the holiday romance with, I think I told you that my cousin and her partner and I sat and watched it all together, which was really good. And they loved it. It was their favorite Christmas movie. So that was really cool. Holiday romance, hometown holiday, I should say. And The Influencers, that's your new thing, which I can't wait for you to talk a little bit more about that. So let's go back and let's talk about, that BET Single Ladies. That was an amazing opportunity and experience for you. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was the first time that I got to bring music into my acting a little bit. The role was for a new character who was going to be in a girl band on this show, Single Ladies, which was on BET Centric. I went in for the audition. It felt okay. I thought it was a good audition, but I was new there. I didn't have any high expectations. And then I got a call I was like bartending at a bar in Toronto. I got a call from my agent at like midnight. And he was like, I just got a last minute invite to a callback tomorrow at 9 a.m. for you for Single Ladies. And I like nearly fainted. So I went, I met Felicia Henderson, who was the producer of the show. She was incredible. And they ended up casting me. And I worked for about half of a year on set, which was awesome. I got to kind of take a step back from, the jobs that pay the bills while you're on this path, and really kind of focus. I met, amazing people, LA stars. I ended up getting flown to LA for one of the episodes. And only on the way there found out that Queen Latifah was going to be guest starring as one of the roles. It was just so cool. I was like in the makeup truck and getting my makeup done for one of the scenes. And this woman walked in, and I honestly didn't recognize her at all. And then she started talking, and I was like, that is Queen Latifah. And she was so humble. Like, she's definitely a superstar. I joked about it in another interview that, she did drive away in her baby blue convertible with like white leather interior. She's definitely a star, but she was so humble and so kind, and she treated everybody super equally, and like they all had, the right to be there. So that's definitely one of my coolest experiences, kind of being flown into LA to do that and then come back. It's a really great memory that I love talking about.
I love that. So talk a little bit more about your TV and your Christmas movie. Oh my gosh, it was great. And I know it was a lot of fun, and there's been, some things I think trickling since then too.
Yeah, I think that was kind of my first experience with what they call like movie magic. It was, I actually got a call. I was supposed to go to Greece in like 2 weeks, and my agent called, and he was like, how married are you to going to Europe? And I was like, what is this about? He was like, well, you actually just got a role that's going to be taking place during your trip. And I was like, that's okay, I'll take the job. I was so excited about it. But it was funny because it's a Christmas movie, and we shot it in July. So that was like my big, movie magic moment, where I was like, oh, it's not like we're filming in December and it's actually Christmas. We're, in winter clothes and 30-degree weather, trying to bang out these scenes basically before somebody faints. but I made amazing friends on that set. We're still really close. We talk quite often. And then it ended up being on Netflix, which I was like, you kind of don't give
Yay.
yourself, yeah, you don't give yourself the credit of doing things that you never thought you'd do. It just happened kind of organically. So I was like, oh, it's cool that it's on Netflix. And again, my partner Liam was like, your goal was to do something that gets on Netflix. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, I really like be so grateful for this moment. And it gave the opportunity for like all of my friends and family to check it out too. And that was probably the first time that a lot of them really got to see me in a role like that. And I got really great feedback. That was incredible. That movie was kind of a catalyst, I think, for me being cast in The Influencers, which was totally on the other end of the spectrum. It was a comedy web series, which I hadn't had the opportunity to do yet. And I love comedy. It's a little bit harder to get used to showing that to people, but my friends and family closest to me are like, you have to do comedy. Comedy is your thing. That's an avenue you should be doing. And I hadn't had the opportunity to do that until The Influencer. So that was just so fun. It's the kind of thing that we're laughing in between takes and we're laughing at each other. And you don't get to do that all the time on dramatic or romantic sets. So that was really, really fun and a very new experience for me.
And when are Canadians going to be able to see that? Do we know yet?
Yes. So it actually just became available for streaming in Canada. They did Amazon US and UK first. Now on revry.tv, so REVRY.tv, you can look up The Influencers, and it is free streaming for anybody in Canada, just as easy as looking it up in your web browser. So I'm really excited to hear what people think about that series, because it's a good laugh and poking at stuff that we can really understand in today's age.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Now, I'm just looking at the time and we're actually out of time. So one quick question. We are going to have a bonus segment for our uploading, but before we go, my final question for you is, what makes you sparkle?
Okay, well, I feel like I just got emotional even being asked that, but I think what makes me sparkle is understanding that my worth comes from my want to express myself, not necessarily how that comes out. I put a lot of, pressure on myself to perform, as we talked about a lot. And I've realized that that's not where my sparkle comes from. My sparkle comes from honest, authentic storytelling, which invites other people to do the same. And their sparkle affects my sparkle, and that's how it happens.
Awesome. Yay. I love that. This has been so much fun. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It has been so much fun. Now, if you want to tune in and hear the bonus segment, I'll leave the everything in the comments. You're listening to CIOE 97.5 FM. And remember to go out and do something that makes you sparkle today and every day. We'll catch you next time, friends. Bye for now. But so here's what happened. We were going to have our bonus section. We had a really, really, really great bonus segment, Samantha and I. And then I realized when I went to stop the video that it wasn't recording. So there were a couple of bad words in there, which I'm hoping that I can get erased. But Samantha is so awesome that we're going to continue and we're going to redo the bonus section. So one of the things that when we started back at the bonus section was that made us cry was just we were talking about the video and all of your connections and how tight you guys were as family, and then we were talking about Jim and Jive and how all that went in. So can you recap a little bit about that?
So I am so lucky and privileged to have an uncle who is an incredible photographer, an amazing videographer. He owns Jive Photographic Productions in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And it's funny, I remember being like 5 years old and he was doing his NSCC photography course. And me and my brother were like his little models. And it's just been our reality forever. And I don't think I realized how beneficial that would be to my career and how it would impact me and inspire me. He is just the best. He has been so supportive of me in my career from the beginning, always doing photographs for me whenever I needed it. But this was the first time that we did a video together. And it really just happened out of chance. I got back to Nova Scotia during the COVID lockdowns here in Ontario, and I got to stay at home for about 5 or 6 months. And during that time, my uncle James approached me and said, I would really love to do some collaborative work. Is there anything that you want to work on? And right away, I was like, oh my gosh, we should do a video for Lilacs, because I wrote it about Nanny, who would have been his mother-in-law. And we're a very, very close family. And so right away, he was like, absolutely, this is perfect. Let's do it. Let's make this meaningful. And on the day, we shot on a beach, and it was my uncle directing and doing videography. My boyfriend of 12 years was my co-star. My cousin, who would have been my grandmother's grandson, Redford Ingram, was there, and Jim's, work business partner, Mark Archibald, who I work very close with as well. So it kind of made it this amazing family experience. I looked around and I was like, how beautiful is this that we're doing this for Nanny, and we're making memories while we do it. And it's so much more meaningful than I could have ever imagined that process to be, because it was a very family-oriented, community-oriented project together. And so I feel very lucky. I mean, my uncle, the photographer, as I just spoke about, my mom manages me. My dad is an incredible singer-songwriter who has taught me everything that I know. My brother is a surfer and an avid traveler. My cousins are all incredibly intelligent, amazing people. My aunt is a secret performer. She's so funny. She should be on the big screen herself. But I think all of these people following their dreams and doing things that artistically fulfill them, and doing things that are, a little bit against the grain, they've all, without knowing, given me permission to do the same thing. So I'm so lucky. I can't say it enough, to be surrounded by these people that are, inspiring, but they're also resources, and they're so willing to help me and help my career. It's something that I can't forget, and that I can't look over, because I wouldn't be here without all of them.
I love that. And it's nice that, to see your family always coming together and to collaborate all the time. It's so refreshing. And the talent. I mean, you guys, let's face it, you guys have talent. We were talking a little bit about, how inspired everyone has been for you, and including, with all of your family. Who else outside of your family has been an inspiration for you?
Well, when I moved to Toronto, I went to a bunch of acting classes, and they did not make sense to me. They had a very analytical view of acting, very pen to paper, figure things out. And I was like, this is not what I am in the arts for. I don't like this. Like, I'm feeling like I'm in a math or a science class. Yeah. And then I found my acting mentor, Meredith McGeechee. She is amazing. She is such an incredible artist herself, and she is so vulnerable with her students, and she really shows up for them. And I have been so inspired, and I have been taught so much by her. I wouldn't be the actor that I am today if I hadn't had her guidance. And I continue to work with her, because she just has the eye of, such an incredible, she should really be directing. I tell her this all the time, and hopefully she does do that. But she has been such a motivator and an inspiration to me. I take vocal lessons here in Toronto with Chelsea Johnson, and, she approaches vocals very much the same way. She's very vulnerable, and she believes it should be about expressing yourself. Technique is important, but really what it is about is finding your artist and understanding your instrument. So I'm really, really lucky to have found the community of artists that I have in Toronto. They have continued to push me to my limits. There's been many a tear shed and many a frustration had, but they support me and they catch me, and they're incredible women. So to be being taught and being mentored by strong, powerful women who know that they, have a spot in this industry, and I follow their example. So I'm really, really lucky to have found the people that I have here to continue my journey in the arts.
I absolutely love that. Now, I want to be mindful of your time, and especially since we had a session that didn't get recorded. But one of the things that was really special that I absolutely loved is that you're going to sing a little bit of your new song, Lilacs.
Yeah, so I've actually never really sung it a cappella, so let's get our fingers crossed. And I also might cry, as you know, Jennifer, I've already cried a couple times
No,
during
we both were
the
when we had the session that didn't record,
song.
we both were wiping our
Yeah.
tears. So
But
maybe that's past.
yeah, very true. But if you do like the song, if your audience enjoys the song and they feel it's relatable, check out the official music video on YouTube. And it is streaming on, all platforms and all that good stuff. And I think, the message I really want to get out there with this song is that, here it's coming anyway, I'm about to cry. But grief can really show up in a lot of different ways. Sometimes ways that we're not ready for. And I think that is at the core of this song. And I hope that you guys feel that and that you feel seen when you hear it. And this is a little verse and chorus from that song. The lilacs aren't growing without you around. This house is so empty. The silence is loud. Guess I wasn't ready. Still don't think I am. To be here without you. I miss my best friend. Miss my best friend. And like I told you, Jennifer, she really was my best friend. So.
And she was a sweet, sweet lady, and she's always with you. She was with you with that song. There's no question about that. So, okay. So do you have any final words before we go?
Yeah, we were talking about this during the break, Jennifer, and I think it's just important to reiterate that, as much as your body and your brain might tell you that it's cheesy to think that it's worth chasing your dreams, it really is. And dreams can be fulfilled in a lot of ways that we don't even realize. It doesn't take winning the Oscar. It doesn't take making millions and millions of dollars. The real prize is being authentic and truthful and doing what makes you feel the most like you. And I hope that everybody, you're such a leader in this, but find your sparkle, as you always say. Find the thing that makes you light up, that makes you happy, and stick with it no matter what. No matter if it's not your breadwinning job, if people put you down or make you feel weird about it. It's not their place to make you feel that way. It's your place to make yourself feel like you're doing what is going to give you the most authentic, meaningful life. So chase those dreams.
I love, love, love that. And I shared that my son Brandon said, Mom, I think I'm the only one of your kids that's chasing his dream and actually going for it. And he's in the film industry. And so we know that's, but he's loving every second of it. And how much of a difference does it make when you feel good and you love
all the difference
you're doing, right? With everything. So I want to, start a movement where we, you had said, earlier about, when we think of these things like that is cheesy, and I want to have, start that conversation, have a paradigm shift where, this is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be going and living our dreams. We're supposed to be feeling good. We're supposed to, whatever that means. And no one else can tell us or do it for us except for us. But it's so awesome when you feel that you're living your authentic self and you have, those moments, and it feels good to feel good.
Yeah. And you know what? Social media gets a really bad rep. And I know it's something that we have to, watch for ourselves and our mental health. But these platforms are giving everybody the chance to create and to put themselves out there and to show the world what makes you shine and what brings a smile to your face. So, we all need to take advantage of this and take advantage of the opportunity to just create and put it out there for the world to see. And what happens after that is really none of your business.
Oh my gosh, that's so well said. And it's so true. I mean, how many of us, we don't know, we're actually doing a disservice if we don't do that, because somebody, and even if it's just one person, someone, it could be could really impact them, and then they could go out and influence however many people. That ripple effect, right? Huge. Absolutely. And we don't have to know, but I think that that's a pretty awesome thing to, even if we can affect one person and impact them in a positive way, then it's worth it. And who are we not to use our gifts?
Absolutely, 100%.
right? It's just wrong. So
It is. I believe
let's
that.
change that conversation and start encouraging people more to use their gifts.
Love it.
All right. Well, this has been so much fun. I had such a blast, and it has been, yeah, it's been amazing. So I look forward to our next conversation, and maybe soon we'll be able to see each other in person again. That would be
Oh, I
pretty cool.
can't wait. Thank
That'll be
you
so much fun.
so much, Jennifer. I've had such a great time. I really appreciate you having me on. This has been so, so, so much fun.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. It's been my honor and my privilege and pleasure to have you here. And I love you so much. And we're going to put all of Samantha's socials in there and all the links for her new single and all the links that if you want to learn anything else about Samantha, that is going to be there for you. And we'll include some for your dad and for Jim too. Because that's what we do. Because we can. And why not? Spread the love. All right. This has been amazing. Thank you again. And thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, go out and do something that makes you sparkle today and every day. Mwah. Bye for now.